Today's video we will be making Rustic Patriotic Signs, and we are part of another fun collaboration, which I will tell you a little bit more about that in a little while. Welcome and thank you for clicking on my channel. On my channel you will find affordable, budget-friendly DIYs using mostly Dollar Tree products. If that's something you're interested in, please consider hitting the subscribe button and clicking the bell notification so YouTube will notify you every time I upload a video. With that being said, let's get started. DIY number one, you are going to need 4 packs plus 1 of these gallon paint stir sticks. You will also need Rust-Oleum red, Colonial red, Rust-Oleum deep blue, and Waverly white chalk paint, as well as wood glue and hot glue. Here I'm going to lay out 7 of the gallon stir sticks together, and I'm going to measure out another, I believe I used a total of 5 of those stir sticks, measured them to 10 inches and cut them down. Now I'm going to use a straight edge to make sure everything is lined up and straight, applying wood glue down, I guess you could say in strips, and then we're going to take the large popsicle sticks, tongue depressors that you can get at Walmart, and apply hot glue on those and put those right over top of the wood glue. So we'll have the wood glue for the permanent hold and the hot glue for the immediate hold. I did forget to mention that the gallon stir sticks I did pick up at Home Depot for 97 cents a pack. Now we're going to take the 10-inch pieces that we cut, and I'm going to first lay them out. I did do 4 to begin with. I do add a 5th later on. I laid them out, and starting from the bottom, used the same glue combination of hot glue and wood glue, and we are going to just glue those to the top, and those are going to cover where those stir sticks go down, I guess into an angle. I'm not really sure what that's called. Once you have those glued down, I went ahead and just sanded around the entire board. I'm doing the edges as well. Now using the deep blue from Rust-Oleum, I'm going to give the top part 1 coat, including the sides and the top of the board, as you can see here. And then I will go and I'm adding a piece of painter's tape down to protect the bottom piece, and I'm going to do that bottom edge blue as well. Once that's dry, you can remove the painter's tape. Then I went and added strips of painter's tape to the bottom of the board. This tape that I use is the exact width of the stir stick. So you're going to do 1, skip 1, another, skip another, and then put another piece down. We're going to be creating stripes. As you can tell, we're going to be making a flag. So we're going to do our red stripes first. Now I'm going to paint those stripes using the Rust-Oleum Colonial red, and again I'm going to do the edges on the bottom of the board. The other ones will be white, so you'll paint those white afterwards. Once that's dry, we'll remove the painter's tape again, and I do only use 1 coat of paint on the entire board. Once the red has dried, I remove the tape, as I said, and I added the same tape, just reuse the same because it will be dry, back over the bottom edge and over the red stripes. Then I went ahead and using the Waverly white chalk paint, I painted the rest of the stripes white. Once that was dry, I removed the tape and went back in with a very small brush and touched up any of the red. On my Cricut, I used out of Design Space. Sorry, I printed off some stars, as you can see here, to create a stencil. I did do it a little too big, and I was having a little difficult time here getting that transfer tape off. It was ripping this vinyl that I had. It was extra vinyl, and yeah, it ripped off in a couple pieces. You'll see where I'll have to go and just like here, all you have to do is just put it down and piece it together. And this strip here I did too large, so I cut that off, and I'll add that to the empty space you see there with the blue. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a coat of the blue paint over top of the stars, filling them in as the stencil as you would with the white. When you do this, this will, once it dries, it will eliminate the bleeding of the white. You sometimes get that bleeding of the stencil underneath. So if you do the same color that's on the bottom first and let that dry, or a coat of Mod Podge, that will help eliminate the bleeding. Once that blue is completely dry, I used a stencil brush, sponge brush from the Dollar Tree, and I stenciled on that white Waverly paint over the top of all the stars. Helping it along a little bit with my heat gun, which I will have listed in my description box below. Sorry, I went ahead and removed that vinyl stencil. Now I did have a problem. The stencil, the vinyl did rip off some of the tape, as you could see there, where my hand is, and a little bit at the top. But I wasn't too worried about it because we are going to sand this down to make it look like a rustic flag anyway. I'm now just going to sand the entire piece, the top and the stripes, to give it more of that rustic look. I did kind of pay attention more to the corners and made those a little more rustic than the rest of it and a little more worn, so it looks like it's been around for a while. I do go back later and add a sawtooth hanger to the back of this, but as you'll see in the picture, I just have it standing up for now. But I absolutely love how this came out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As I mentioned earlier, today's video is part of the collaboration of Sign Wednesday, which is hosted by Deco Easy and co-hosted by Crafty Leanie. Both of these ladies YouTube channels will be linked in my description below, so make sure you go and check them out, as well as the playlist to everyone else that is participating in this collaboration. When I hit 300 subscribers, I will be giving away a $25 Amazon gift card. If you'd like to participate, the rules are as followed. You must be subscribed to my channel, you must like this video, and you must leave a comment. Once I hit 300 subscribers, the following video I will make the announcement of who the winner is, and it will be a random drawing. DIY number 2, you will need 2 of these signs from the Dollar Tree. I got these back in fall, but you could use any sign that is like this. They have plenty of them all season long. First, we're going to flip them over, remove the jute on both of them, as well as this little welcome sign on them both. You do not have to worry about sanding anything. We're going to take some hot glue and we are going to glue them together so we have a finished backing. I then went ahead and gave the entire piece, the sides, the front, and the back, one coat of the ivory and the Waverly chalk paint. I printed off some letters from Word, and it does spell out America. Using the graphite paper, I traced them onto the board. You could use a Cricut if you wanted to. I didn't want to use my Cricut this time. I felt like painting, and I just thought that the painting would look more rustic than the vinyl would. But again, this is the best way to do it. If you don't have a Cricut, and if you don't have graphite paper, you can just take your pencil and shade the back side of the letter, then place that down on the board and trace over that, and you'll get the same effect as graphite paper. I found these images of fireworks off of Google and printed them off, and I did the same thing as I did with the letters using the graphite paper. I cut a large one out for the top of the eye, and then I just cut out a few pieces here and there. Some of them are single, some have 2, some have 3. It all depends on your liking, and I just placed them in various spots on the board. I then ended up erasing that eye. I didn't really like how it looked, and I just free-handed it myself to make it look a little more like a firecracker. So here I made a couple mistakes. Sometimes it's just easier to freehand, but you can also find an image and print that off on Google as well. Using the Colonial Red from Rust-Oleum that we used in the first project, I colored in the A, the E, the I, and the last A in that red using a very small paintbrush. After I was done, I went back and I used the deep blue and I filled in the M, the R, and the C in the same way. I used a gold marker from Arteza, and I filled in the top of the firecracker. And then I used the white acrylic marker from Dollar Tree, and made some lines on the firecracker. Using the gold, I again went through and I just did random lines on the fireworks, anywhere you'd like. I apologize about my big head being in there. And I just went ahead and just put them periodically. There's no rhyme or reason on how to do this, Then I went ahead and used the silver from Arteza, the same way, if I can get the paint going there. And I filled in some spots on the fireworks as well. Using a blue acrylic marker, I did the same thing on each of the fireworks, and then I also went ahead and used a red acrylic marker, I apologize for any of the noise you hear in the back. My husband is mowing the grass and it's a little loud. I then went back through and I erased as much of the outline, the black from the carbon paper from where we traced, off of all the letters, the fireworks, the firecracker itself. It did rub off some of the paint, especially on the blue, but I was okay with that because, as you can see here, I went ahead and I was sanding everything down and just dulling it up a little bit to give it that weathered rustic look. I then used some jute twine from the Dollar Tree, and I wrapped that along the length of the board, and I wrapped it around twice, gluing it to the back. When I finished, cut off the extra piece, and then I took the jute again, wow, I can't talk today, and I wrapped it around the top of the board twice as well, and obviously cutting that off. Then I took a small piece and I looped it in the back, and using a piece of wood, I secured it in place. This has to be my absolute favorite that I have ever made. I hope you like it. Let me know in the comments what you think of how this one came out. Okay, last DIY. I had this sign that I didn't want to use anymore in my home. I removed the top piece. I also removed the letters USA from the burlap from a sign from the Dollar Tree. And I went ahead and sanded down the entire thing. This bottom piece, the sides, the top, as well as the piece we removed. And I did sand down the letters, removing that glitter, that god-awful Dollar Tree glitter. I went ahead and gave that small piece of sign one coat of the ivory chalk paint, and here I am using a candle, and I'm going to rub it around the this wooden piece here, the edges, the black piece. I didn't do in between because we are going to be putting that sign back on. When you use wax like this and you put paint over the top, which we are going to do, we're going to use that Waverly ivory, and we're going to give the sign 2 coats of paint. When that dries, you'll see how you'll just use a scraper and it scrapes it off and gives it that antique look. I'm using this scarf from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut it so it will fit. It doesn't have to be perfect. I did let it overlap just a little bit, and I used some spray on glue adhesive, and I'm going to glue that to the top of the small board that we removed and that we painted that ivory color. Once that is set, I did take the scissors and just trim it down as close as possible, and then just used my sander along the edges just to get off the excess fabric, and then this way it would also look a little more rustic and worn. Using that ivory again, I gave all the letters, actually 3 coats of the paint that those stripes just did not want to cover. And now here that the sign is dry, I'm using the Cricut spatula. I guess you wouldn't say it's Cricut spatula. It's the one I picked up at the Dollar Tree. And I'm just rubbing that lightly along the edges and then along the face of the board as well. And you see how when I start going along the face of it, it looks like it's just chipped off, and it gives it that old, chippy, weathered look. Now we're going to use some hot glue, and we are going to attach that sign back onto where it was originally. I then went ahead and used the blue and dry brushed the A, dry brushed the U with the red, and I used the Waverly Antique Wax for the S, and I did give a little bit of the antique wax on top of the A and the U as well. Using the small little blocks from the Dollar Tree, I painted the 4 sides of it with the off-white because those will show. Glued 2 to the S, the U, and 3 to the A. And then I went ahead and glued them on top of the fabric piece. Okay, now I'm using the rest of the scarf, and I'm going to tie a knot towards the end on both sides, just so there's a small piece hanging, which will be the same length as the board. I went ahead and I glued both knots to the top of each corner on the sides of the board. After that, I did go ahead and pinch the bottom fabric together, and I'm going to glue that bottom part of the fabric to the bottom corner, as you could see here, like right underneath the A and right under the corner of the U. And then I just proceeded to fluff it up along the edges and the top of it. And here's the finished project. I hope you liked it. Please let me know in the comments below what your favorite is, and please don't forget to give this video. Don't forget to check out the 2 ladies and the playlist in the description below. And I also am uploading a second video today, which will be shortly, and I will leave that linked in the description as well.